Definitely it was Purlie because Purlie was my second play, my second experience with any kind of theater at all because I didn't go to the theater, didn't know about it. So I was learning on the job.
In this edition of The Color Between the Lines, we're sitting down with a true legend of the stage, screen, and sound. It's the incomparable Melba Moore. She's a Tony Award-winning trailblazer who broke barriers on Broadway, conquered R&B radio with iconic hits like This Is It and Love's Coming at Ya. She also inspired generations of performers through her resilience, her faith, and her unmistakable voice. Today, she's opening up about the highs, the heartbreaks, and reinventions, as well as the spiritual journey that led her to write her powerful new memoir, This Is It, Marvelous and Getting Better, a story of purpose, survival, and a reminder that your best days are never behind you. Well, Melba, you have had such a rich and multifaceted career, from Broadway to R&B to film. Looking back, is there just a moment where you felt that there was something that truly defined your journey as a performer?
I don't think I could look. Is that, you mean did I know that then that it defined it, or am I looking back and
I mean, when you look back, is there something that you see that
okay,
really did
something
make
I see now then?
change? Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure, yes. Because if you ask me, well, how did you feel then? I'm not sure I even remember. And certainly I couldn't determine what it meant and everything at the time that some of the things happened. And some of them really required a lot of pivoting because they were just surprises. But looking back now, I see that there was a pattern. It began with the family structure, the family restructure, um, having support of that family in a couple of different ways. Even when the family was beginning and was broken and unstructured, the lady who raised me was an orphan, illiterate domestic, and she was raised by sharecroppers. You know, the sharecroppers don't even own the farm; they don't own nothing. So I have a natural humility, very grassroots. But I think she's the reason why, even though I had no theater or acting training or experience, I got the Tony Award for Ludi Bell, Gussie Mae Jenkins, because that's who she was. So, what was the question?
Well, I'm just wondering if looking back, was there a
Oh,
certain film or a certain Broadway play that you
yeah,
felt really
yeah.
made you who you are today?
Definitely it was Purlie because Purlie was my second play, my second experience with any kind of theater at all because I didn't go to the theater, didn't know about it. So I was learning on the job. And so it defined me. I remember sometimes standing in front of the audience once I had learned the script and which way was stage left, which way was stage right. That, oh, because you're so focused because you're not trained at it and you have a different kind of attention that you give to it. Uh, so, oh God, they're looking for me. What are they looking for? Then you kind of, yeah, this is a comedy. I mean, real basic things kind of sink in. So now looking back at that, so I remember that moment. I'm saying, oh, Mel, you got to say your lines, remember? And you can't be a New Yorker. You have to be the Southern person that you auditioned and got this job for. And then you go to do it, but you're doing it and it's all happening at once and things are, but looking back now, so that was definitely one defining moment because that, of course, I can look back and say, you got a Tony Award for that. You didn't even know what that was then. Yes. And you've got to look back and you've got to remember. But when you have to document it, that's another whole kettle of fish. Because now we have to become like you people. We have to become what I call journalists. And in African American life, there was a time, even when we had Black radio, we did not have people who were articulate, who spoke. They spoke a little bit of their DJ jargon, but they didn't have interviews like they do now. And our only communication with the public, translation to the public, outside of records, was Ebony and Jet.
Hmm.
You look at the
You're
difference
absolutely right.
between that and what we have now. Everybody got, it's a podcast world. Everybody speaks in interviews and is learning to do that. And everybody's got a book. So we've come a long way. I can see that.
I was I was surprised when doing some research on you that your background really, like you said, you didn't really start with theater. You started with dance. And then you said that you grew up and, well, you grew up where you had asthma as a kid and were shy. So doing that, that must have been at that start, must have been a little difficult for you.
I'm laughing because I don't want people to think that I started out as a professional dancer or something like that.
No.
No, but I loved taking dance classes. I loved once I got into the industry and met people like George Faison. I followed the dance companies and I continued to study dance. And now I realize in retrospect, first of all, that's therapeutic. And as you get older, now I'm a senior citizen, I can still walk because I took dance lessons. So I don't want people to think that I had any kind of crazy imagination that I was a dancer. No, but it's really, really important for everybody. Not everybody takes Pilates or Orange theory. We understand and that not only exercises you and keeps your joints and your muscles healthy and moving, but particularly the form of Pilates realigns you. And as we live and walk and move, we get out of line. And that's one of the reasons that as we get older, we have so many different ailments and aches, and they turn into really serious things. And after a while, we wind up in a wheelchair or some respiratory problem that the doctor keeps giving you steroids, and you can't keep doing that because he doesn't know what our doctors don't know what the source of the problem is. But it's usually diet and lifestyle. So I can look back now and see, oh, no, I'm not a dancer, but I'm alive.
I love that. In your memoir, you talk about the highs of winning the Tony and the lows of rebuilding your personal life and your financial struggles. How did those experiences shape the way you see your success today?
I guess I was just saying to you that having started out my life with the child of a single parent and a broken family, and really being raised by someone who really was my functioning mother, it taught me never to lose um, have any distance between yourself and your real grassroots, whatever that is. It may not have been what mine is, but whatever yours is, because this is what you start out with. Usually, your whole being remembers that, even if you don't remember the details, and that is the beginning of your shaping of yourself. And whatever it is, even if it was difficult and terrible, don't forget it because it forms you. And when sometimes if you have the blessing to be brought out of that into something whole, you have a balance, you have something that belongs to you, that is you, that always warns you or helps you to appreciate. Don't take it for granted so that it stays fresh because we forget, and then eventually, if you can, get to God because he don't forget. Okay. He will remind you so that you can stay whole in this broken and torn world that will, I mean, we all come here to some degree in some wholeness. But the minute you come here, it starts to at you. I mean, the babies can get sick, you can have not have parents at all, or you can have, a bad family situation, or all different things come at you to try to tear you down and kill you before your time.
I want to ask it because this is a really important question for many who are in the industry and those who aren't, who may look to you as an inspiration. You were a trailblazer on Broadway and in the music industry when it was a time when Black women just didn't get those kind of opportunities. What do you hope that your legacy will mean to young Black artists coming up today?
Well, I'm among so many people now who have laid the groundwork and the foundation for them to say, oh, I'd like to do that. I'd like to at least dream about that. So we're here and we're physical, so we can show you just by what we're doing what might be possible for you. You don't have to follow us, but we have many, many, many instances. We have technology that shows you all of these videos and these podcasts and all different kinds of ways so you can look at people, see what they're doing, and see what your dream might be. I think that's one great, great thing.
I know faith is a big part of your life and about your story. How has faith guided you through all these ups and downs in show business and in life?
Well, in retrospect, I realized that my mother, having me christened and baptized as a baby, as a Catholic, I know now it really does have an effect. Even before you have the ability to choose, God can choose you. And if he puts you someplace where somebody christens you or puts you under his realm and then gives you your first education is religious education, You can lose. We usually go away, and especially when we get to be puberty and teenagers, and we go off on our own way. But usually you will come back. And I'm so glad that my mother started me off that way because when things really got bad,
Hey, I just want to check in with you real quick. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. Every subscriber helps me grow this channel so I can bring you more great interviews just like this one. And if you have suggestions on who I should talk to next, please drop them in the comments. All right, let's get back over to the conversation.
you know, first of all, we always had church and religion in our lives. After my mother married my stepfather in Newark, New Jersey, he was Presbyterian. Mother kept me Catholic, and then we used to sneak around to the Baptist church to hear the good singing. So,
Good food too.
whoa, hallelujah! Uh, so the Spirit of the Lord was always in the center of our family and was always there. So when things fell apart many times that it did, and I didn't have proper management, and I didn't have the information on how you um, do business, because my family was so art oriented and they loved their art, and nobody taught them any different. And they taught us what. That's why they insisted that we all have educations, and if we could, to be educators, they wanted us to have more than what they had. And so as we came along, I began to see, wait a minute, wait a minute. Why is the sky blue? If the Spirit of God is in your life, you start to ask questions like that, even if you have no clue what it is. So I'm saying, looking back now, I'm grateful that was the aura that was over me. So eventually, especially when you get like into some really bad places that you feel like you've caused yourself, or even if you didn't, you have to bring yourself out of somehow. You start with God, and then you see, oh, okay, I didn't commit suicide. I mean, when it's at its worst, and you can stay alive and stay alive. Or if you get to the point where I did, well, I had a child and a family. So if I don't survive this, what is my daughter going to do? You get outside of yourself, and then you finally realize, I need to focus and find out what this God thing is. And then you go there and you go there and go there and go there, and you say, now you get accused of being a person of faith.
Yeah, that
I'm not
makes
saying
sense.
this because it's simple, but it really is true.
You talked about in your book the momentum during the pandemic through things like D-Nice's club quarantine. What did that moment, I guess, mean to you, and how did it connect you to the whole new generation of fans?
That's exactly what it did. And it was really a very, um, the expression usually is a rude awakening. It was a beautiful awakening. I'm saying, oh my God, because I live in West New York, New Jersey, which is like right on the Jersey side of the Hudson. So I can look across and see the whole skyline of New York. And it was dead. It looked like a big cemetery. You didn't see any cars anywhere. You didn't see any life. Nobody was on the streets walking. It looked like you were living in a cemetery where perhaps there had been a great Holocaust and you came in just afterwards. It was literally dead. And then I heard about this D Nice who was doing this club court because I know about DJs and all that, but he took advantage of the internet. And what he did was he broke down all the barriers that radio and commercializing of the arts and music does, and put whatever he liked or what. And he's an artist at that, and he is a musician. And he united people. And he said, "Well, I like this, and my auntie used to do this. And you said, I'm going to put Auntie Melba on." And I can't think of all the artists right now, but so many of the different artists that were normally you wouldn't hear. Because and now they've become more formats that do feature classic music, not just whatever is the only current thing. And he opened everything up, but his purposes were really to remind the family that we have life and we are it, and we must inspire one another, and the things that bring us together are so important. And that thing built so until he's kind of like at least one of the kings of the world. So I'm in his entourage.
Mhm. I have to ask about when you got the star on the Walk of Fame. What did that mean for you? Because I know that that was a gift to you. How
Yes.
how was how was that for you?
Amazing. once again, I had my mind focused on what's the next project, how am I going to improve my team, how are we going to make the adjustments to everything that's changing. And my current, one of the people on my management team, I have a team of people who help me, was working on getting the star for the last maybe over a year, maybe 2 years or so. And he kind of kept me posted, but I was focused on what I was doing. When you have a team, you can kind of stay in your lane so you can get what you're doing done. So I didn't really pay attention, but it came toward the end of it. And he was saying that most of it had been accomplished, but we still had to pay these several of thousands of dollars for it, which we didn't have. That he was getting ready to start a GoFundMe to raise the funds to do it. And then shortly after he told me that, he told me that this person named Katt Williams had called up and said he would pay the whole thing. So, of course, at first I was speechless. I said, jaw dropping. And then I watched some of his work. I saw him with, I don't know, it was Teacher Campbell or somebody in one of these comedy shows. And I said, oh my God, well, first of all, he's an athlete. He's like got rubber knees and everything. He's all over. He's what I call a physical comedian. And he's hilarious. And then I researched him a little bit to see some of the challenges that he had had, and how he overcame it, and how he really formed his own base. And that I heard word of mouth that he was a good, kind, generous person who had done things like this for many people. I said, oh my. So I'm there and I'm meeting him for the first time. So, of course, I'm looking at him. I'm trying to take all this in. And then I'm looking around and I see people like Lunell, an incredible comedian. When every once in a while, she'll just call me and say, "Hi, Mel, I'm coming to New York. Can you meet me at Tavern on the Green? I want to have lunch with the girls." But she don't really know me. I want to have lunch.
Oh.
I said, "Well, yes, ma'am." And she was part of the um, people who made a speech for me and showed up there too. And also, someone special is Frida Payne, who've been friends ever since, well, she came into the industry and I did too. And she's done Broadway, and our children are about the same age. And so there's a picture of us in Jet Magazine with her son and my daughter. And people like Tisha Campbell, whom I remember meeting when she was a child. And I forget what the play that she was doing, but she's been working since she's a child.
Yeah.
Been talented, but her parents brought her to our management office for us to manage. I don't remember what transpired, but she said I was nice to her and kind to her. She's always been like really, really nice to me. And she said, Miss Moore, you don't know. You really inspired me to be in this industry. And da, da, da. I said, I did. And I had these moments with these people who came and supported me. And of course, I found out from Katt that not from him, but that he's supposed to have a star too. I think he has it now. But he said he did not want to have his star before I had mine. And it was that there were other people there too, many other people that made me just put my little speech aside and say, okay, I'm just gonna stand here and cry. Okay, how about that? An amazing coming to awareness that you have had a career, it has meant something, and you have something as permanent as the Hollywood Walk of Fame star that's going to be there. So just stop a moment and look at what God has done with you and for you, and stop a moment to look at the people and enjoy them and say thank you.
Mhm. I know that when people pick up this book, you probably had a hope, a message for them that when they did read it, they would get that message. And I want you to tell me what you think that message is.
Well, first of all, never give up. And some of the stories I tell because I've been in the public so much, and you hear what I call these little sound bites that make you think you know me. And what makes a good story read is it didn't happen that way. And the way that it happened is fun and interesting. So I want you to be entertained because I'm an entertainer. And I don't think entertainment is frivolous. I think it's very powerful and very important. So I want you to be entertained. And then I want you to get in touch with your spirit and let it encourage you.
Wanted to ask before we close because I only have so many more minutes and I don't want to go past this because what makes a person often is not always the great fun moments, but it's often the tough moments. What were some of the, I guess, one of the toughest moments that you dealt with that really had an impact on how you do things today?
Well, I think the book, the coming of the book came because my daughter said, Ma, everybody has a book but you. You're overdue. So it made me stop and take a look at my life from her point of view, which is the same really as taking a look at your life from the next generation, because you're always in charge and you're the adult and you're the mature one and you have the wisdom and you. It's all about you. It's not all about you. So that was one of the things. In order to do this book, I had to really think about um, telling the parts of the downfalls that didn't trash other people, because I didn't trash myself by myself, and I know how to tell what somebody else did. Now, can I tell the story without, hurting other people? And I'm so glad that I did this because I'm a Christian. I purport to be that. Now the test was, well, are you going to forgive? Because if you do, some incredible things that you have no idea are going to happen. And they are. For instance, this book is a family project. And I think prior to this, and some of the things that have happened to my now ex-husband have happened to him, there's never no way in the world, no way in hell, we could have had any kind of relationship except a hateful one. But you were supposed to be what you say. You don't know how to do that. Well, let's learn how to forgive it, and let's learn to think about what was your part in it. And let's see if we can put these things kind of out between the three of you so that you can proceed forward and this be our first family business. So the three of us have actually put this team together and put this together. So that's huge. And I was just to a book meet and greet last night. I realized that, and I worked for the first time with my nephew and his partner, his fiance, and he did such an excellent job, and I was just so amazed. But if I hadn't forgiven him and allowed the family to come together like that, first of all, I wouldn't have had no ride. I wouldn't have anything to be laughing about now. I'll be upset and angry. If I was doing the book, it would be an angry book. It would not be the book that it is. And the reason why I'm glad that it's the book that it is, because I've learned so much about moving forward and moving upward. And if you can't let go of these things, you really can't move on. And if you can't move on and things are going, you're going to get left behind. And whatever it is you love to do, you're not going to be able to do it. So I feel also that this is the beginning of course, another era, another stage, period. But it also is a beginning of our healing and growing. And there's really no limit to what the three of us can do in terms of what a family unit is supposed to do in spawning you and supporting you and giving you the security that you need to blossom. And that, of course, is most of all for our daughter. But it means for us too. There are things that we're going to do now that we would not have had the opportunity to do if we hadn't started this next section of our lives like this. I predict. Watch us.
Well, I have to ask because you brought me right to this moment where people may ask, "What is next? What's going on with Melba?" So we can find
Oh,
find her on stage somewhere. Or where are you gonna? Where can we
absolutely.
see you?
Yes, there's a tour being formulated with myself, Shirley Jones, Karen White, and Climax, and not the moderator, the MC is going to be Monique. So that's going to be interesting. She might cuss you out, but it's going to be fun. Okay. Several concert tours are being formed. I'm having a one-woman play, uh, autobiographical, formulated for me by a gentleman by the name of Curtis King in Dallas. He's developing a play for myself. 'Cause, well, first of all, I still don't know how to audition, so there's no point in me going up for these things that people are doing because I don't really know what it is I am, but I kind of do, but anyways, it's time for me to produce and say what a theatrical piece should be. And I'll start with myself, and maybe I'll start a theater company for other people to come along. I have a new single called No Filter. that I would love people to go and hear. And that is written and produced by George Pettis and Angela Pettis and Terry Hunter. And it's being considered for a Grammy.
Very, very awesome. Fantastic. I really want to say thank you so much for just allowing me to be able to talk to you and have this interview. It was a pleasure, and I learned so much about the industry and things that have happened in your life, and it's just fantastic to read such an inspirational book. Well, that's it for this edition of The Color Between the Lines. It was truly a wonderful interview, and honestly, I felt like it was a wink and a nod from the universe that I'm doing the right thing. You know how sometimes you wonder if what you're doing is aligning with your purpose? Well, way back when I was a teenager and a young adult, I used to adapt plays for my church. And one of those plays was Purlie Victorious. So for me, this sitting here today, interviewing one of the biggest stars to ever act in a Broadway production that is about Purlie Victorious, that's not lost on me. It feels full circle. If you'd like to pick up her memoir, this is it, Marvelous and Getting Better. You can find it online wherever books are sold. I'm Esther Dillard, and this is The Color Between the Lines.